You ever wake up and wonder if the universe is just messing with you? Because that's exactly what I thought, standing there barefoot on my own back porch at 6:30 in the morning, coffee in hand, blinking like a fool at what looked like a spring break commercial happening in my backyard. I mean, you can imagine, I hadn't even had 2 sips of coffee, and suddenly my private beach was covered in neon pool floats, tiki torches, and 30-odd people in sunglasses, double-fisting margaritas like they'd missed their flight to Cancun. No joke, there was even a massive Clearwater Shores HOA summer bash banner flapping between my 2 old oak trees. My trees, by the way. Now, for anyone not living in this little corner of the world, let me catch you up. Our HOA president is a woman named Cheryl Montgomery. If ambition had a perfume, she'd be drowning in it. She's the type who walks around like property lines are just suggestions, not legal boundaries. But the stretch of sand behind my house. I paid for that land. I pay taxes on it. I put up the private property sign myself. It's mine, through and through. So you can picture my face when I saw Cheryl, tanned and glowing, in a giant floppy beach hat and sundress, right in the middle of it all, passing out solo cups like she owned the place. I set my coffee down before I threw it, grabbed my phone, hit record, and marched down there. Morning, Cheryl. Were you going to send me an invite, or are we just trespassing with style now? She turns, grins this smile so fake it could crack, and goes, "Oh, hi, Mark. It's just a community event. We're using the neighborhood beach today." Community event. I pointed to the sign, private property. That's my land, Cheryl. She didn't miss a beat. Don't be difficult. Everyone agreed it should be open access. It's basically the neighborhood's beach now. Everyone except, the guy who actually owns it. She waves her hand like she's brushing off a mosquito. Relax, Mark. We'll clean up. It's just one day. One day, apparently, meant thumping bass so loud it rattled my windows, cars parked halfway down my driveway, and somebody dragging a greasy grill across my sand like we were hosting a public barbecue. By noon, the place reeked of spilled beer and coconut sunscreen, and I watched as a couple of tipsy HOA folks stumbled near my dock, knocked over the kayak I'd built by hand. That was the last straw. I went down, camera rolling. "You've got 10 minutes to clear out before I call the sheriff." Cheryl just moved closer, dropped the sugar act, and whispered, "You really want to fight, Mark? I'll have the HOA fine you for harassment if you cause a scene." I looked at her, fine me for trespassing on my own land. I almost laughed out loud, but she wasn't bluffing. Next thing I know, she's got 2 rent-a-cop types in neon vests posted up at my fence like they're running security for a celebrity. At that moment, it clicked. This wasn't a party. This was Cheryl's latest power play, and she thought she'd already won. But here's the thing about me. I don't lose quietly. I called the sheriff. And when Deputy Henderson pulled up, tall guy, never seen him smile, I explained the situation while still filming. "Deputy, I own this land. They're trespassing." Cheryl steps right up, cool as you like, and says, "It's community property. Here's the permit from the HOA." She flashes a piece of paper like it's a magic ticket. Henderson looks it over, frowns, and says, "Ma'am, this covers Lot 22. This address is Lot 21. I nearly spit out my coffee. I said, "Lot 21 is mine. Always has been." Cheryl froze, just for a heartbeat, before covering with, "Oh, must be a clerical error. We've always used this section for events." I couldn't help myself. "So, you've always trespassed here." The deputy just sighed, told Cheryl to clear out until property lines could be verified. Her lips went tight. "You don't understand. The HOA already approved this." He just raised his hand. "Ma'am, unless you can show me a deed, you'll have to leave." You could feel the mood shift. People started packing up, but not quick enough for Cheryl. She snapped, "Fine, we'll go, but I'm filing a report for interfering with HOA business." I told her to go ahead. I'd be filing for criminal trespass. The deputy just nodded and said he'd note both. Then, as everyone trickled off, I noticed a couple of Cheryl's guys dumping trash behind my dune grass, thinking I wouldn't see. I filmed them too. By sunset, the party was over, but my beach looked like a crime scene. Beer cans, burned out wood, tire marks everywhere. I spent hours cleaning, swearing under my breath, telling myself next time I'd call the county before the sheriff. But the next morning, Cheryl struck back. Bright orange notice on my mailbox. HOA violation. Unauthorized obstruction of public pathway. $120 fine for blocking community land. It was petty revenge, plain and simple. I took the notice to my lawyer, Janet Lee. If sarcasm were a sport, Janet would have Olympic gold. She barely looked at the paper before grinning. Well, Mark, they just handed you all the leverage you need. Now it's on the record. They're intentionally targeting you. Once I get the property survey, we'll see how deep a hole Cheryl's digging. Suddenly, I could breathe again. Janet looked at me over her glasses. Next step is making Cheryl regret ever setting foot on your sand. 3 days later, Cheryl reappeared, this time in a power suit, clutching a folder thick with HOA paperwork. She strutted up my driveway like she owned the place, smile sharp as glass. Morning, Cheryl. Here to throw another party or finally apologize? She laughed, cold and practiced. Neither. I'm giving you one last chance to sign this agreement. She slid papers across my patio table. This recognizes the beachfront as shared HOA space. You keep ownership, but everyone gets access. Sign, and this all goes away. I stared at her deadpan. You want me to give up my rights? After your little stunt? Not a chance. She pressed her lips together. You're being unreasonable, Mark. This neighborhood values harmony. Don't make yourself the villain. Harmony, I laughed. You mean, you do whatever you want, and everyone else claps? She crossed her arms, tone dropping to a threat. If you don't sign, the board will vote to enforce easement rights. You'll lose either way. That's when I pulled out my phone, hit play, and let her watch herself on video. Music blaring, people trashed, her laughing, while someone spilled beer on my dock. She blanched. See, Cheryl? This is what evidence looks like. My lawyer's already filed a complaint with the county. She tried to steady her voice. You're bluffing. I just smiled. You're welcome to call Janet yourself. She doesn't bluff. And as if summoned, Janet's white SUV rolled up. She stepped out, file folder thicker than Cheryl's, every inch the attorney you want on your side. Janet glanced at Cheryl. Calm as a surgeon. Miss Montgomery, the county survey says every inch of that shared beach is Mark's private property. The HOA threw an unlicensed event, charged for tickets, and served alcohol. Without a permit. That's not a party. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Cheryl tried to argue, but Janet held up her hand. We've already sent evidence to the county inspector and sheriff. Expect a visit. Cheryl's face went pale. She snatched her folder, muttered, You'll regret this. The HOA stands behind me. Janet just raised an eyebrow. You might want to tell them to stand a little further back, because when this comes down, they'll need someone to blame. Cheryl stormed off, heels kicking up sand. The silence that followed felt like a weight lifted off my chest. Janet watched her leave, then said, She's cornered, but this isn't over. She was right. People like Cheryl never go quietly. Just then, Janet's phone buzzed. It was the Clearwater County Prosecutor's Office. Subject line, regarding HOA activity on private property. My stomach dropped, but Janet looked satisfied. Looks like the county's taking this seriously. They're opening a formal investigation. Within days, my quiet strip of beach was crawling with county trucks and deputies, survey gear everywhere. Cheryl was out there too, barking at the inspector, voice shaky now. Not so cocky. This is absurd. We have approval for everything, she snapped. Inspector Riley, older guy, not easily impressed, just shook his head. Ma'am, your permit covers community property only. You charged for entry, held a party on private land, served alcohol without a license. That's 3 violations right there. She spun toward me, desperate. Mark, just tell them you gave us permission. You don't want this getting ugly, do you? I sipped my coffee, slow as I could. Cheryl, it's already ugly. You just finally noticed. Deputies measured out the distance from my fence to where they'd set up, 60 feet inside my line. Riley just whistled. Everything, even the fire pit, is well on your side, Mr. Collins. Cheryl's assistant, Greg, muttered. She said she had permission. Cheryl snapped at him, but it was too late. Riley wrote it all down. Mr. Collins, you should file a damages claim, property misuse, cleanup, HOA misconduct. You've got a strong case. Oh, don't worry. Janet's already on it. That night, the neighborhood group chat exploded, screenshots everywhere. Emails from Cheryl authorizing payments from HOA funds for the bash. Messages telling the treasurer to ignore the property line nonsense. By morning, half the HOA board had resigned. Then came the big finale, 2 sheriff's deputies at Cheryl's door, escorting her away in handcuffs. Fraudulent use of HOA funds, trespassing, unlawful event operation. I'm telling you, neighbors were out on their porches whispering, some shocked, some grinning. Behind their coffee cups, the queen bee finally stung by her own arrogance. A week later, I met Janet on the sand, my sand, quiet and peaceful again. She looked out at the waves, then smiled at me. Well, Mark, looks like this stretch finally belongs to you again. I grinned. Yeah, just took a few spilled margaritas and a criminal charge to make it official. She laughed. Guess karma likes. A good beach party, too. The wind was gentle, the air finally felt clean. And you know what? Sometimes the land really does remind folks who owns what. I'm just glad it wasn't me who had to do the reminding. Now, the only party happening here is me, my coffee, and the waves. But let me ask you, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Ever had to stand up for what's yours when everyone around acts like it belongs to them? Drop your wildest HOA or neighbor story down in the comments. I want to hear it. And if you think Cheryl finally got what she deserved, go ahead and hit that like button. Let's keep the debate rolling. Where's the line between community and control?